The Awakening. Captain Maya Chen stared through the viewport of her quarters aboard the ISS Intrepid, watching the blue-green jewel of Earth grow larger as they approached. Her reflection stared back, hollow-eyed, jaw clenched, the silver insignia of the Galactic Conclave's unified defense fleet still gleaming on her collar. She should have torn it off already. After everything they'd done, after everything she now knew, the emblem felt like a brand of shame. Captain, her eye assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. Admiral Kovich requests your presence in the command deck for orbital entry procedures. Maya's fingers curled into a fist. Tell him I'll be there shortly. She took one last look at Earth. Home. The planet humanity had nearly destroyed before reaching for the stars, a place they'd been slowly rebuilding when the Conclave found them. The Conclave, with their advanced technology, their promises of prosperity and protection, their talk of galactic brotherhood. Lies. All of it. Humanity's first contact with the Galactic Conclave had come 15 years ago. A Conclave scout ship detected our early interstellar probes and followed them back to Sol. They arrived with grand gestures of peace, massive ships that appeared above every major city simultaneously, broadcasting messages of friendship in perfect English, Mandarin, Russian, and a dozen other languages. The Conclave was a federation of 26 spacefaring species, they explained. They had been guiding the development of civilizations for millennia, stepping in when species achieved faster-than-light travel to welcome them into a greater community. They offered technology, medical advancements, access to hundreds of habitable worlds, and protection against the less civilized species that lurked in the darkness between stars. In exchange, they asked only for cooperation, cultural exchange, and eventually, when humanity was ready, military support for their peacekeeping operations. Humanity's leaders, wary but hopeful, signed the Treaty of Luna. Earth became a protectorate of the Conclave, a developing member to be nurtured and guided toward full membership. Maya had been 22 then, fresh out of the Naval Academy. She remembered watching the broadcast with her fellow cadets, the excitement of knowing they might one day pilot ships between stars. When the Conclave opened positions for human officers in their fleets, Maya was among the first to volunteer. For 10 years, she served with distinction. She learned their languages, mastered their technology, fought alongside warriors from across the galaxy. She believed in the mission, in the grand promise of unity and protection for all sentient life. Then came the Proxima crisis. The Catarans attacked without warning. A species from beyond Conclave space, they struck at the outlying colonies with devastating force. The Galactic Council, in their gleaming chambers on Nexus Prime, declared a state of emergency. Maya, by then a seasoned commander, was given charge of a battle group to defend the Proxima system, a vital waypoint between Conclave territories. This is your moment, High Counselor Fex had told her, his 4 eyes blinking in what she'd learned to read as solemnity. Show us that humanity is ready for greater responsibility. Her battle group consisted mostly of human ships and crews, with a few Conclave advisors. They were outgunned and outmatched, but they held the line for 3 brutal weeks. 2,000 human lives lost, another 1,000 wounded, but they didn't retreat. They couldn't. Proxima was the gateway to Earth. When reinforcements finally arrived, Maya's fleet was down to 11 ships out of 30. But they had succeeded. The Cataran advance was halted. The Conclave territories and Earth were safe. Maya was called to Nexus Prime for commendation. She went there expecting recognition for humanity's sacrifice, perhaps even the announcement that Earth would finally be granted full membership status. Instead, she discovered the truth. It was an accident, a misfiled report she was never meant to see. She had been waiting in an antechamber of the High Council when her neural implant, standard issue for Conclave officers, pinged with an incoming file transfer. The security encryption was minimal. It wasn't meant to be secret from someone of her rank. The file was a strategic assessment from before the Proxima crisis. It detailed the Conclave's defense priorities, resource allocations, And most damningly, species expendability metrics. Humans ranked at the bottom of the preservation priority list, below even the synthetic servitors. Further digging revealed more. The Cataran threat had been known for months before the attack. The Conclave had deliberately positioned human forces at Proxima, calculating that the loss of human life would be more acceptable than risking the more developed species. They had delayed reinforcements intentionally, monitoring human combat effectiveness under extreme pressure. It had all been a test, a way to measure humanity's usefulness as a military asset without risking more valuable personnel. When Maya confronted Admiral Tuvax, her direct superior and someone she had considered a mentor, he didn't even bother denying it. "You humans are remarkably adaptable," he had said, his tone almost admiring. "Most species would have broken under such pressure. You prove your worth." 2,000 people died, Maya had replied, her voice shaking with rage. "A regrettable but necessary sacrifice. The Conclave must prioritize the stability of the whole over the welfare of developing members. When will we stop being developing members? We've bled for you. We've died for you." Tuvax's expression had shifted to something like pity. "Captain Chen, you misunderstand the nature of the Conclave. Full membership is not simply granted based on military service. It requires cultural stability, technological maturity, genetic refinement, qualities humanity may not achieve for centuries. So we'll just keep fighting your wars, dying for your causes, while you dangle the promise of equality in front of us. Your perspective is understandably limited by your species' youth," Tuvax had replied. "In time, you'll come to appreciate the Conclave's wisdom." Maya had walked out of that meeting a changed woman. The formal rejection of Earth's petition for full membership came 3 days later. The Galactic Council cited cultural immaturity and evolutionary deficiencies as reasons for the denial. They praised humanity's military service, but suggested it only proved their point. Humans were naturally aggressive and impulsive, valuable as soldiers, but not yet ready for the responsibilities of full participation in galactic governance. That night, Maya used her command codes to access the Conclave's secure archives. What she found confirmed her worst fears. Earth wasn't the first. Dozens of species had been kept in developing status for centuries, their people used as resources, soldiers, miners, colonists for dangerous worlds, while the ruling species maintained their power and privilege. Some species had eventually earned full membership, but only after generations of service. Others had rebelled and been contained, a euphemism for orbital bombardment and forced regression to pre-industrial technology. Maya's decision was made. She gathered what data she could, purged her access logs, and requested a transfer back to Earth for personal reasons. Admiral Tuvax approved it readily enough. Humans were known for their sentimental attachments to their homeworld, after all. Now, as the ISS Intrepid entered Earth orbit, Maya steeled herself for what came next. In her secured personal storage was a quantum data crystal containing everything she had discovered. Proof of the Conclave's deception, their manipulation, their callous sacrifice of human lives. "Captain Chen," Admiral Kovich greeted her as she entered the command deck. "Welcome home." Kovich was one of the few fully human admirals, though he reported directly to the Conclave's Earth Oversight Committee. Maya had served under him years ago and respected him, but right now, she couldn't trust anyone within the official chain of command. "Thank you, sir," she replied, keeping her expression neutral. "It's good to be back. I understand you've requested an extended planet-side leave." "Yes, sir. Family matters." Kovich studied her face. "You've been through hell at Proxima. Take all the time you need. You've earned it." If only he knew what she was planning. Maya nodded and turned to leave. "Oh, and Captain," Kovich called after her, "when you reach the surface, trust the thunder." Maya froze, then carefully turned back. "Sir." Kovich was already engaging with another officer, seemingly unconcerned with what he just said. But as Maya watched, He touched his right wrist twice. An old Earth military signal. I'm on your side. Trust the thunder. It wasn't a phrase from any conclave protocol. It wasn't standard Earth military terminology either. But it triggered a memory. A rumor she'd heard during her last planetside visit. Whispers of a resistance movement codenamed Rolling Thunder. Maybe she wasn't as alone as she thought. The descent to Earth was uneventful. Maya took a shuttle to the North American Administrative Zone, once called the United States, and made her way to her family home in what had been Seattle. Her parents, both scientists who had eagerly embraced conclave technology, welcomed her with open arms, but quickly sensed something was wrong. You look terrible, sweetheart, her mother said over dinner. Is it about what happened at Proxima? We saw the news. Did you? Maya asked. And what exactly did they say? Her father exchanged a glance with her mother. That our forces successfully defended a key strategic position against hostile incursion. That it was a great victory for humanity's standing in the conclave. Maya laughed bitterly. A great victory. 2,000 dead. And they still denied us membership. They what? Her mother's fork clattered against her plate. It's not public knowledge yet, Maya said. But they voted. Unanimously. Humanity remains a developing species for the foreseeable future. Her father's face darkened. After everything we've contributed, the medical advances we've shared, the scientific collaborations. It was never about contribution, Maya cut in. It's about control. About keeping us useful but subordinate. She hadn't planned to tell them yet, but now the words poured out. Everything she had discovered, everything she had witnessed. Her parents listened in horrified silence. What are you going to do? Her father finally asked. Maya looked at them both, these brilliant, idealistic people who had taught her to believe in a better future. I'm going to find people who still remember what it means to be free, she said. And then we're going to remind the conclave why humans have always been dangerous. 3 days later, Maya stood in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath old Seattle, surrounded by people who should have been enemies, former military officers, government officials, scientists, engineers, even a few corporate executives, all of them united by a single purpose, independence from the conclave. They called themselves the Phoenix Initiative. Admiral Kovich was among them, though he maintained his position in the official fleet as their eyes and ears. There were others like him throughout Earth's administration and military, loyal to humanity first, the conclave second. We've been preparing for years, explained Dr. Eliza Ward, the nominal leader of the group. Ever since the first signs that the conclave wasn't being honest with us, we've reverse-engineered their technology, built hidden facilities throughout the solar system, established connections with other species who've been treated similarly. How have they not discovered you? Maya asked. Compartmentalization, Kovich answered. No one knows everything. And the conclave is arrogant. They don't believe we could hide anything significant from them. What's your goal? Maya asked. Open rebellion would be suicide. Not rebellion, Dr. Ward said. Independence, on our terms. We've developed technologies the conclave doesn't know about. Weapons, defenses, communication systems that can bypass their networks. Show her, Kovich said. Dr. Ward nodded and led Maya to a sealed chamber at the back of their underground facility. Inside was what looked like a standard conclave neural interface device, the kind Maya and every other conclave officer had implanted at the base of their skulls. This is Project Phoenix, Ward said, a modified neural interface that can override the conclaves. It blocks their monitoring, their influence, while maintaining the functionality they expect to see. You're saying they're watching us through our implants? Maya asked, horrified. Not actively, most of the time, Ward explained. But they can access your sensory data, your memories, even influence your emotional responses in subtle ways. It's how they maintain control over developing species. Maya felt sick. And this can block it. This can do much more, Kovich said grimly. It can feed them false data. Make them see what we want them to see. And when the time comes, it can be used as a network to coordinate our people throughout conclave space. Maya looked around at the determined faces surrounding her. Scientists, soldiers, ordinary people who had discovered the truth and chosen to fight back. "When does it start?" she asked. "It already has," Dr. Ward replied. "We're just waiting for the right moment to show our hand. We need more allies, more resources, and someone who knows the conclave military from the inside." All eyes turned to Maya. "Will you help us?" Kovich asked. "Will you help humanity take its rightful place, not as servants, but as equals?" Maya thought of the faces of her crew who had died at Proxima. She thought of Admiral Tuvax's condescending pity. She thought of the generations of humans who would live and die as second-class citizens in a galaxy that saw them as expendable. "Yes," she said. "It's time the Conclave learned what humanity is truly capable of." The Reckoning. 3 years passed like a gathering storm. On the surface, relations between Earth and the Galactic Conclave continued as normal. Human ships patrolled conclave borders. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers. Human diplomats smiled and nodded in conclave chambers while arguing over minor trade concessions and development grants. Beneath the surface, everything had changed. Maya Chen, once a decorated conclave captain, now stood on the bridge of the DSV Nemesis, a ship that officially didn't exist. Built in secret facilities hidden within the asteroid belt, it incorporated reverse-engineered conclave technology alongside purely human innovations the conclave had never seen. "All systems nominal," Captain reported her XO. "Commander Rajpatal. Quantum shield generators online. Gravity lance primed. Stealth systems engaged." Maya nodded, studying the holographic display at the center of the bridge. It showed their target. Monitoring Station Epsilon 17, a conclave facility orbiting Ta Ceti. Not a military installation, but a communications hub that coordinated surveillance across 17 star systems, including Sol. "Status of the fleet?" she asked. "Phoenix Squadron reports ready. All 12 ships are in position. Cloaking fields holding." 12 ships against the might of the conclave. It would seem laughable if not for their trump card. "And our people on the station?" "Confirmation received. Security protocols have been adjusted. They're ready for extraction." Maya took a deep breath. This moment had been 3 years in the making. 3 years of preparation, infiltration, and careful manipulation. What they did today would change the course of human history. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Operation Daybreak is a go." Half a galaxy away, on the conclave capital world of Nexus Prime, High Counselor Thex was reviewing resource allocation reports when his neural interface chimed with an urgent alert. He blinked his 4 eyes in sequence, the Axorian equivalent of a frown, and accepted the incoming communication. "High Counselor," began the security chief, his holographic image flickering with static. "We've detected an anomaly in the Sol system monitoring feeds." "Specify," Thex replied, setting aside his work. "The data patterns from Earth have shown unusual regularities over the past 24 hours. Our analysts believe the feeds may have been compromised, possibly replaced with loop recordings." Thex's secondary eyelids narrowed. "For what purpose? Has there been any unusual activity?" "Nothing detected, but if the feeds are falsified, we wouldn't see." The communication suddenly cut off. Thex tried to re-establish contact, but all channels to the security division remained dead. Then, one by one, the lights throughout the council chamber began to fail. On monitoring station Epsilon 17, alarms blared as 12 ships suddenly appeared from empty space, surrounding the installation in a perfect containment formation. "Attention conclave personnel," Maya's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Human Alliance vessel Nemesis. Your station is now under our control. Resistance is futile and unnecessary." Inside the station, chaos erupted as security forces scrambled to respond. But their weapons wouldn't fire. Their communication systems broadcast only static. Even the emergency protocols failed to activate. Because for 3 years, the Phoenix Initiative had been placing their people throughout the Conclave infrastructure. Engineers, technicians, security officers, all of them equipped with modified neural interfaces that allowed them to bypass Conclave oversight. And now, those sleeper agents were awakening. Lieutenant Daya Sharma, officially a communications specialist assigned to Epsilon 17, calmly walked into the station's central control hub while her Conclave colleagues panicked around her. With practiced efficiency, she accessed the main console and executed a series of commands that disabled the station's defensive systems. Security hub compromised, she reported through her neural link. Docking bays unlocked. Proceed with boarding. Across the station, 27 human operatives performed similar acts of sabotage. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single life was lost. Within 20 minutes, Maya stood in the station's command center, surrounded by bewildered Conclave officers. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Station Commander Vrel, his reptilian features contorted with rage. "This is an act of war." "No," Maya replied calmly. "This is an act of liberation." She gestured to one of her officers, who activated a holographic projection in the center of the room. It showed similar scenes playing out across Conclave space. Human-operated ships suddenly dropping their disguises, revealing advanced weapons and technology. Conclave facilities going dark as human agents revealed themselves. And most shockingly, ships from other species that had also been denied full membership, joining the human fleet. For generations, the Conclave has maintained its power by dividing the developing species, Maya explained, keeping us separate, making us compete for your approval, while using us as expendable resources. That ends today. Commander Vrel's scales paled. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Conclave. Maya smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. We don't have to, she said, because right now, across every Conclave world and ship and station, your neural network is transmitting a very special signal. A signal that reveals exactly how the ruling species have been manipulating and exploiting the rest of us. Every lie, every sacrifice, every betrayal, laid bare for all to see. On the view screen, riots were breaking out on Conclave worlds. Ships were changing course, breaking formation. The perfect order of the Conclave was fracturing in real time. You've started a war you cannot win, Vrel hissed. No, Maya corrected him. We've ended one you didn't even know you were fighting. The assault on monitoring station Epsilon 17 was only the beginning. Across Conclave space, carefully placed human agents activated, seizing control of key installations, communication hubs, and defense platforms. It wasn't a military conquest, it was a systematic paralysis of the Conclave's ability to respond. Meanwhile, the truth spread like wildfire through the Conclave's own neural network. The classified files Maya had stolen years ago, along with thousands of others gathered by the Phoenix Initiative, flooded the collective consciousness of billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. The Draconians learned how their world had been deliberately kept resource-poor to ensure their dependence on Conclave trade. The Calarians discovered that the genetic defects the Conclave had been treating in their children for generations were actually attempts to suppress their natural telepathic abilities. And dozens of other species, all classified as developing, all manipulated and used, learned that they were not alone in their subjugation. The Conclave leadership scrambled to contain the damage. They severed neural connections, deployed security forces, and broadcast messages dismissing the leaked information as human propaganda. But the evidence was too overwhelming, too specific to be fabricated. On Nexus Prime, High Counselor Thex barricaded himself with the other council members in their secure bunker beneath the Grand Spire. Their guards, drawn from the trusted species, remained loyal, but outside, the city was in chaos. How could this happen? Demanded Counselor Ziv, her luminescent tendrils writhing with agitation. How could humans, penetrate our security so completely? Because we underestimated them, Thex replied grimly. We saw their aggression, their ambition, their resourcefulness, and we feared it. But instead of embracing those qualities, we tried to control them. We should have contained them when we had the chance, growled Counselor Dorn, the massive Ursoid pacing the chamber. Restricted their technology, limited their expansion. Like the Tarkai, asked Thex, or the Voss. How well did that strategy work with them? Silence fell over the council chamber. The Tarkai rebellion had nearly broken the conclave a century ago. The Voss had chosen extinction rather than submission. We must negotiate, Counselor Elia said finally, her avian features composed despite the crisis. Offer them concessions, full membership, reparations if necessary. It's too late for that, Thex replied. Look at the feeds. This isn't just a human rebellion anymore. On the monitors around them, the uprising was spreading. Species that had been loyal to the conclave for millennia were questioning their place in the hierarchy. The foundations of their galactic order were crumbling. Then what do you suggest? Ziv demanded. Thex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Resignation, determination, fear, resolve. We prepare to meet our future, he said. 7 days after Operation Daybreak began, a transmission cut through the chaos engulfing conclave space. It originated from a human vessel, but was broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages, to all worlds. Maya Chen stood before the camera, flanked by representatives from a dozen different species, all of them formerly classified as developing by the conclave. To all beings across the galaxy, she began. I am Captain Maya Chen of Earth. For too long, the Galactic Conclave has maintained peace through deception and control. They have divided us, used us against each other, and denied our right to self-determination. She gestured to those standing with her. We represent the alliance of free worlds, species who have chosen to forge our own path. We do not seek the destruction of the Conclave, nor revenge against its member species. What we seek is simple: equality, recognition, the right to determine our own futures. The camera panned across the faces of her allies, the crystalline Vexari, the amphibious Nosh, the silicon-based Lithians, and others, species that had nothing in common except their treatment by the Conclave. To the ruling council, we make this offer. Meet with us, not as superiors to subordinates, but as equals. Together, we can build a new galactic community, one based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. She paused, her expression hardening. But know this, we will not return to the old order. We will not allow our people to be sacrificed or exploited. The time for manipulation is over. The transmission ended. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings waited to see how the Conclave would respond. In the end, the Conclave didn't have a choice. With their neural network compromised, their military in disarray, and rebellions erupting across their territories, the Council agreed to meet with the Alliance representatives. The location chosen was symbolic, a nameless asteroid in neutral space, devoid of strategic value. No grand chambers, no ornate decorations, no displays of power or prestige. Just a simple room with a circular table, no head, no foot, all positions equal. High Counselor Thex led the conclave delegation, flanked by representatives from each of the ruling species. They entered the chamber with the practiced dignity of those accustomed to power, but their expressions betrayed their unease. Maya led the Alliance delegation, along with leaders from 17 other species. They entered as equals, heads high, unafraid. Captain Chen, Thex began, his voice carrying the formal tones of official conclave address. You have caused unprecedented disruption to galactic order. Millions have died in the chaos your actions unleashed. High Counselor, Maya replied calmly. You have caused immeasurable suffering through generations of manipulation and exploitation. Billions have lived and died as second-class citizens in a society that claimed to value all sentient life. Silence fell. The accusations hung in the air, both true, neither easily dismissed. "What do you want?" Councillor Ziv asked finally. "Truly. Revenge. Control." "Neither," answered Dral, the Vexari representative. "We want recognition. We want truth. We want a voice in decisions that affect our worlds," added Kemlar the Nosh. "We want an end to the classification system that divides species into developed and developing," Maya continued. "An end to the manipulation of other cultures for the benefit of the few." Thex's 4 eyes blinked in their sequential pattern. "You speak of dismantling a system that has maintained peace for millennia. We speak of building a better one," Maya corrected. "One that doesn't require deception and control to function." The negotiations lasted 7 days. There were moments of anger, of accusation, of near breakdown. But in the end, exhaustion and pragmatism prevailed over pride and tradition. The Treaty of New Beginning, as it came to be known, dissolved the old conclave and established the Galactic Federation of Allied Worlds. Every member species, regardless of technological development or evolutionary age, would have equal representation in the new Senate. Trade would be fair, technology would be shared, and interference in cultural development would be prohibited. It wasn't perfect. Centuries of inequality couldn't be erased with a document. But it was a start. 1 year later, Maya stood in the observation dome of the newly constructed Federation headquarters, orbiting a neutral star at the center of Allied space. The station was a marvel of collaborative engineering, human initiative, Vexari crystalline architecture, Lithian energy systems, and dozens of other contributions. "Quite a view," said a familiar voice behind her. Maya turned to see Admiral Kovic, now Federation Defense Coordinator Kovic, approaching with a smile. "Worth fighting for," she agreed, looking back at the panorama of stars. "The Raxus delegation arrived this morning," Kovic informed her. "That makes 27 former conclave species who've joined the Federation, plus 14 independent worlds that were outside conclave influence. And the holdouts," Kovic shrugged. 6 species still loyal to the old council. They've established an enclave in the Vega sector, calling themselves the True Conclave. "Let them," Maya said. "As long as they don't interfere with Federation worlds, they can govern themselves however they choose. That's the point, after all." They stood in companionable silence, watching ships come and go from the station, vessels of all designs, from all worlds, moving freely among the stars. "Did you ever imagine this?" Kovic asked eventually. "When you first discovered what the Conclave was doing?" Maya thought back to that moment in the antechamber on Nexus Prime, the shock and betrayal she had felt when she saw humanity's designation in the Conclave files, the rage that had driven her to risk everything. "No," she admitted. "I just wanted justice for our people, for those who died at Proxima. And now," she gestured to the bustling activity below them, representatives from dozens of species working together, learning from each other, building something new. "Now I want this to work," she said simply. "I want to prove that we don't need to control each other to live in peace." Kovic nodded thoughtfully. The old council didn't understand that. They saw our independence as a threat, our diversity as a weakness. "Their mistake," Maya replied. "It was always our strength." On her wrist, her communication device chimed softly. The Federation Senate session would begin soon, and as Earth's representative, she was expected to attend. "Duty calls," she said with a slight smile. As she turned to leave, Kovic called after her. "Maya, do you think they'll ever understand? The ones who still cling to the old ways?" She paused, considering the question. "Maybe not," she answered finally. "But their children might. And if not them, then their children's children. That's the thing about change. It takes time. But once it starts, it can't be stopped." Kovic finished for her. Maya nodded and headed toward the Senate chamber, where representatives of 41 species waited to continue building the future, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals under the stars. In the end, the Conclave's greatest miscalculation hadn't been underestimating human technology or military capability. It had been failing to understand a fundamental truth about not just humans, but all sentient beings. Freedom, once tasted, becomes essential. And those who have known oppression make the most determined guardians of liberty. The galaxy would never be the same again. And that was exactly as it should be.